Yo ho ho! What's going on, boys? This is Grim Reaper bringing you something new. So, there's some series that we're going to be bringing back and probably renovating and making better. But in the meantime, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I want to talk about characters that were that thing. Now, colloquially, this phrase means terrific, tremendous, exceptional, above average, everything that we were looking for and more. But sometimes it may not be recognized. So let's address individuals that happen to fit within that mold. First, even natural water. Like the video, subscribe, join the channel, join the Discord. Let's get it popping. In many different mediums and series, you'll see all different kinds of powers, magic forms, styles, power-ups. One Punch Man is no different. In One Punch Man, we have a variety of capabilities that range from teleportation, black hole creation, physical strength, extreme speed, energy fields, psychic and telekinetic capabilities. There's a variety of powers that can be had in One Punch Man. One thing, though, that I really like about One Piece is the specificity or the uniqueness of certain powers. That they're not only ranked or compared amongst the rest within the series, but in general amongst all of anime and manga. These are unique capabilities that aren't always, characterized or at least displayed in the same fashion. Now, in One Piece, Oda has specifically said that there will not be a devil fruit made of water. There won't be a water Logia. Cool. I understand that. But the other Logias in One Piece are terrific. In particular, their intangibility is, if not the most difficult trait to deal with in the series of One Piece. Yes, the introduction of Haki has allowed the mitigation of that particular trait, but it's still indomitable. We still saw Kizaru fight up against Whitebeard and do just fine. We still saw Aokiji go up against Whitebeard and survive just fine. So it's not as if these individuals can't also deal with Haki. And in One Punch Man, the closest thing we have to that, an individual who hasn't necessarily shown intangibility, but recovers almost as well as any instant regenerative capability that we've seen in the series of One Punch Man. Even Natural Water's ability to let me not even call it an ability. He's water, man. He's water. Straight up, he's water. Sentient water. Created by experiments of cycles, trying to create monsters. Out comes one of her strongest creations, as it were, even Natural Water. Now, this individual or this monster, Dragon Cadre is the official title. This Cadre responds to malice. Now, in there are many different translations that you can adhere to, whether it's the Reddit version or whether it's an updated Kobati version. I'm not sure if this particular volume has been released yet to give out the official version. But even Natural Water responds to malice, negative emotions, and just malintent in general. So, hence why it isn't uniform as to why he responds to individuals. I was actually doing a reread, and you can actually check out on the screen right now a portion that I was talking about, or that I'm going to refer to right now. But even Natural Water in Child Emperor's first encounter wasn't necessarily characterized by a malice-filled experience. Child Emperor didn't arrive here with malice in his heart. He had the intent to fight and to kill any monster. But is it to say that he had a murderous intent? I don't think so. So it shows the at least minuscule range of emotions that can be had, that can attract the attention of even Natural Water. It was a big point, not necessarily contention, but something to look back on in retrospect, whenever King was able to neutralize even Natural Water's offensive action in confrontation with Golden Sperm and Black Sperm. This is actually what spurred the creation of of Platinum Sperm in general. The fact that even Natural Water was not going to be assisting and that Homeless Emperor was pretty much out of commission. So, what were they to do then? What were they to do? They had to come out with a final solution, an ultimate fighting weapon. Now, even Natural Water does come back after the point. Before that, he was knocked out by Darkshine, and we're skipping a little bit, but it doesn't matter. We're talking about this badass character in general. He does come back in an even stronger form to, I guess you can say, come after the malice of Garou and the different feelings or maybe arrogance that he was portraying. But he definitely had negative intent of killing Sage. So maybe that's why even Natural Water was willing to just go after Garou and such. Regardless of the case, we're just trying to specify what are the exact emotions that will trigger even Natural Water if an individual like King is able to neutralize it, as it were, according to Black Sperm. So maybe that gives you a hint of what's going on, or if you were to encounter even Natural Water, what you should do to try and calm him down, as it were, or to not get popped in the throat like that one A or B or C class hero did. No name, I think it was an A class hero. Now, one of the reasons why I think even Natural Water is underrated is because his fights were quick. Granted, in the beginning, his fight was drawn out, but it wasn't up against a strong hero or an S class. And when it was pretty much a quick bout. After that, he fights Darkshine. After that, he encounters Atomic Samurai in Neon. So there are different levels of fighters in different scenarios where we don't really necessarily get to see his full capabilities throughout the entirety of his appearances. And you even have to go as far as to patch all the different times where we see him, because it was an arc. That's when we ever got to see him. It was the same for a bunch of different monsters, but other monsters got more definitive action, at least on the surface. For the cases of Fuhrer Ugly, Gums, Homeless Emperor, and Black Sperm, they got physical, long, extended presentations on the surface, in contrast to even Natural Water's sparse appearances, barring the exception of Gums, as it were. So, if you take those different patches and put them together, then yeah, I think he actually has a pretty competent appearance, maybe even a more prominent or more numerous appearances than Fuhrer Ugly and Gums. And I think that's actually the case with Gums for sure. I'm not so sure about Fuhrer Ugly. So, what did you say there? He definitely appears more often than Rover does, and Rover was a favorite, if not beloved by the community. So, that's the first point that I think, if people were to give it a reread, you would not only love even Natural Water more, but you would see that he does show up in the series. He is here in the arc, and he is a threat. Even though he's scaling up amongst the different heroes, he is a threat. That is the case. Now, his fights, the badassery, one of the most shocking or how do you say, odd-changing, maybe a heart-pounding moments that changes the stakes dramatically in the situation was when he first showed up against Eon and the rest of the swordsmen. You got that little monster that breaks in to the little lock after the swordsmen start attacking them, and then he unlocks it, breaks open even Natural Water, then he's spilling everywhere. Coincidentally, even Natural Water and the piranhas eat him. Another part, or another aspect of even Natural Water that I don't think people realize, but those piranhas, they are no joke. They are no joke. There's one panel where we get to see their durability, right? Because we are seeing these A-class heroes and the support, or this Narinki assault squatters rescue team member, kill these fish, right? There's even a panel where we see the guy do a jump kick and he kicks through a fish, and we see the other heroes cutting the fishes down. But in the death of that Narinki rescue team member, it was the piranhas, and they ripped his armor apart. It wasn't like they just ate him. It wasn't like he took his armor off to die. No, they ripped his armor apart. And if you guys remember, when they first appeared, they were getting accolades and hype because of their armor, because of the potential of that armor, and especially in contrast or in comparison to Hammerhead's armor back in the beginning of the series. We saw how potent that armor was and how powerful it was, and not only durable as well. It wasn't that Sonic was just cutting through their armor, he was going for their heads, the only exposed part. So that goes to show you how powerful, or the potential of this, maybe not upgraded, but comparable armor that the Narinki team had. So that adds to the potency, or how dangerous even Natural Water is with these piranhas. Because not only is he shooting these powerful, fast, cutting beams of water at you, like just out of nowhere, just fast as hell, bro. It's a miracle that even that Child Emperor was able to dodge in his first appearance, whether it was the first attack that surprised him or the consecutive beams that came at him. It's a miracle that was able to happen. But he's able to send the piranhas, which fly at you, and multiple different beams in different directions at the same time. So it's not like he can't fight multiple different individuals like he already has. And once he upscales and gets stronger and stronger, if he happens to retain the piranhas, that's an even bigger threat, because he can then start to fight multiple S-class heroes at the same time, just like Melzigard did, while also throwing piranhas at him that may be sentient, or who knows how strong they'll be. I'm not saying that these piranhas will be able to bite through Darkshine or anything like that, but Flashy Flash, they could cut through his ankles. They could definitely mess him up or bite into him, and there you go. He's slowed down, or he's injured or something like that. I don't know what could happen, but there's a variety of methods of assault, or what's the best way to put it? The versatility of Evil Natural Water's attacks are dangerous, or is dangerous. So moving on from that first point there, I was trying to point out that whenever Evil Natural Water first shot his first beam at Yan Yan, and Yan Yan deflected it successfully, which is something to note, my boy. It cut through his blade. Like, Yan Yan looked at it like... And I remember in the first iteration, we actually got a full panel, and I think it was that's how the chapter ended, where Yan Yan is commenting about about the hole that beam, or that beam left in his blade, or that stream left in his blade, and he was like, Atomic Samurai hasn't taught us how to cut water yet. I'm like, yo, like, the badassery, bro, just coming out the bat, bro. Some of the panels that we got to see him too, of they were in the support, the rescue team, and the disciples were in the hallway. And then you see Evil Natural Water like coming out from the smaller hallway and then getting big and then just start throwing beams at him. And you see the different heroes and the different disciples and the rescue team member just all jumping around, deflecting while trying to find an escape path, and just deflecting beams, bro, cutting through piranhas and shit like that, bro. Like, Evil Natural Water was badass, bro. He really brought a sense of danger, especially because these were A-class heroes. There was actually a sense of threat. It's not like he was fighting like Pig God or something like that, to where we don't necessarily know how it's gonna go. It is gonna be a competitive fight, but we're still kind of leaning towards Pig God because this is his first appearance. We don't expect a hero to be killed right away. The story doesn't really going that way. So you kind of assume that Pig God will somehow come on top. But that's not the case, or that was not the assumption for the disciples there. That's a good way of bringing the threat, and I love when Monata does that. Whenever we get, when one does that. Whenever we get a whole gauntlet of heroes coming through first to emphasize the strength and the threat that this particular monster poses. So after he actually manages to defeat the disciples, which I think we got, it was off screen. We didn't necessarily see exactly how it happened, but they were, and that's something to point out, that they were left alive with a pulse. So once they were incapacitated and weren't able to present a negative or an imposing ominous threat to Evil Natural Water, he disengaged, as we saw with King. But then we get to see his appearance up against Child Emperor. He was still in the vicinity of these heroes. He was still around. He had nowhere else to go. We don't know why he just lingered, but he had nowhere else to go. And I guess whenever, like we talked about before, the mysteriousness or the inconclusiveness of what Child Emperor was really feeling whenever he came into this scenario or came into this arena to help the heroes spurred or became the catalyst of Evil Natural Water's attack. And then we got to see some badassery. This is actually one of my... Yeah, I'll say one of my favorite fights in the arc. I really enjoyed this first presentation here, because especially more so the first instance where we see these heroes encounter some of these monsters or some of these cadres, because we don't know what we didn't know how these guys were actually going to fight. We didn't know the full extent of their capabilities, and we don't know how the heroes were going to actually cope or deal with the first encounter. We know that at the end or during the middle or the climax of a fight, you expect heroes to prevail. But how much of a threat or how debilitating is the threat presented by these cadres? How was it going to be? And this one did not disappoint. We're going to see badassery from Child Emperor jumping around and avoiding all these big-ass cannons and beams and the piranhas at the same time while pulling out a lightsaber, but it start cutting them in half too, bro. Like, it was just Child Emperor in general made this fight badass. Like, and not only not only was Child Emperor's like skill or like diversity in his weapons and methods of attack, like then not only did that amplify the fight, but that also hypes up even natural water because he was able to cope and compete with all these different methods of attack. There was even to a point where Child Emperor gave hype and praise to even natural water's lack or intelligence, intelligence, even though there was a lack of nervous system, of brains, of intelligence as it seemed to be, or at least physical organs to present intelligence, or present the capability of intelligence. Even without that, he was able to suck out the oil out of Sludge jellyfish to incorporate that into his own chemistry, and then, as it were, regulate his own body temperature to lower the chemistry of his substance so that it would have a lower freezing point. Therefore, not freezing as quickly or as easily as water was before, which Child Emperor was taking advantage of. Intelligent counter to probably the smartest battle genius we've seen so far, because Bolfoy is just pulling out big weapons and big cock diesel stuff, and he has powerful, potent mechanisms or machines, as it were. But Child Emperor is actually the one that we're seeing, at least firsthand on the front line. We'll give Bolfoy a chance, using different strategies and different methods to get around the problems that present themselves. And I'm wondering who else is going to do it like that. I'm wondering who else is going to mitigate issues like this. Certainly not to the same degree. But it's interesting to see him do that. And even natural water was still a threat without that. This fight ends with Child Emperor drowning inside of even natural water, because after that mitigation, he then continues to present a threat. And a potent one, too. Child Emperor underestimates him and gets shot in the leg. Bro, even natural water's that dang big. He's that dang. After this, the heroes get saved, but even natural water's not done. All the different candidates made it to the surface, and he did as well, getting bigger too. He looked like he had like some mud or some sludge within him, so he was absorbing all the different liquids along the way, or who knows what else he absorbed. And he got to the surface as a potent threat, to the point where Atomic Samurai was like, all right, how I'm gonna deal with this, man? No, don't get me wrong. Atomic Samurai and some of the other S-Class too, maybe you could say all of the S-Class, but in particular, Atomic Samurai and Darkshine are two heroes who we don't yet expect to be defeated or removed from the story. These are prominent characters who, I were to say, represent the soul, if not the spirit, if not the core of the Hero Association. You know, whenever it came to the Assault Force, whenever it came to like when all the heroes came to the surface, who really arrived? Pooty, Atomic Samurai, Darkshine. These are the boys who came out on top. These are the boys who were the substance, the main battle force of the association, as it were. Aside from Tatsumaki, we already know she's a powerhouse. But aside from Tatsumaki, these are the guys who are going to show up, who are going to do that thing. So I didn't necessarily think that, and honestly, and granted, I like Atomic Samurai. He's one of my favorite characters, but like, I wasn't necessarily frightened or taken aback whenever even natural water presented himself. I was excited that he was back and that now he had a chance to fight all of the heroes to really become a threat. Because the exciting part that really, well, a lot of them got it for sure. They all got it. That is what was great about the surface fight, was that everybody was going for a free for all and fighting everyone else. But Black Sperm is the individual who got the meat end. The meaty end of the stick in reference to fighting all the different S-Class and showing off his capabilities, showing off what he could really do, and then evolving when he really needed to. But even Natural Water didn't get that chance. I would have loved it if we would have saw Tatsumaki, Bang, Genos, Atomic Samurai, the different disciples, the Swordman Council, everybody coming up and having to deal with even Natural Water at a single instance. Like how they noticed whenever Garou came to the surface, and even Garou didn't get a chance to fight everybody. Garou had to fight one or two heroes. Black Sperm, really because of his capabilities, was able to fight almost every single S-Class. And he got the meat under the stick. But if even Natural Water would have got that, boy! So he got popped quick. He got handled quick. They went after Eon at one point because the Atomic Samurai was indisposed. And even Natural Water comes after him, and Darkshine comes out of nowhere. Tanks the big ass. Oh, give me a shower, man. I'm dirty from getting clapped by Garou. I need a shower, man. And tanks it, and then pops even Natural Water with a single punch. So we see what it takes to, I guess, deform him. Like, because none of these things defeated him. And we're gonna end this video soon here. Not even Saitama's punch Not even a serious punch from Caped defeated even natural water. It may have scattered him to the point where he wasn't able to absorb anywhere near as much water. Anywhere near as much water. He was the size of a puddle the last time we saw him. But he was still alive and still capable of growing and even attacking A-class heroes. Still a dangerous threat. So, evil natural water. Capable of taking a serious punch. Capable of surviving an assault from Kate himself. What is there to stop him? Are they really to believe that he's defeated and done within Pig God's belly? Is Pig God's belly the ultimate digestive source? I don't know. But even natural water was that dang. The Grand Ocean Cannon, bro? Evil Natural Ocean, bro? Coming up out of nowhere and flipping over a carrier? An entire carrier? Bro, when Evil Natural Water's eyeballs were larger than the carrier. Yo!